and I'm sure there's going to be,
Hold on.
I'm sure there's going to be more people that hop on, but welcome to what we are now going to call Monday Magic with Ken. And who knows where this is going to evolve. My name is Mary DaSilva, and I am a Healy World member. And I know for sure that Healy found me over 18 months ago. And I have never looked back on this amazing journey of frequency energy. So I'm a passionate entrepreneur who wants to help all the animals on the planet and the humans who can put their egos aside and learn and are open to transformation. And I say that about myself, of course. So I'm here to facilitate and open your hearts and your minds to the possibilities. So here's the goal for this evening. We're going to provide content, amazing content that is educational and easily understood. Think of it kind of as a course. So you're going to learn about how to influence every cell in your body with the use of biohacking, epigenetics, and our Healy Coaching Module. So I'm going to share what Ken said. We're really simply the engineers of our lives. And I have two very talented people on here with different backgrounds, but both very knowledgeable about epigenetics. So they're going to share all sorts of wonderful things with us. So before I introduce both of them, I need to read a disclaimer. For all of you that are with Healy, you know the drill. But Healy is a holistic wellness device used to balance and support the body's bioenergetic field. It can analyze imbalances in our physical, mental, emotional, and energetic fields and recommend programs and frequencies to bring back everything into balance. We cannot treat, diagnose, or prevent any illness or injury. So I'll be monitoring the chat. We're going to, pose questions that are related to the topics, not about technology, and troubleshooting and things like that. And yes, it's being recorded. And yes, we're going to post it on all sorts of social media places, because our goal really, as this thing evolves, is to use this as educational tools to help us all learn, because we have so much to learn. So I'm gonna let both of them introduce themselves. I'm going to start out with Lori, who she and I have just become good friends and partners in understanding Healy, and she's a mentor. She is knowledgeable, and I'm so thankful to know her and all the amazing people that I'm getting to know. And then she's going to pass the baton over to Superman, Ken, and he's going to lead us on, I'm sure, what will be a wonderful journey this evening. So there.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. That was a beautiful, beautiful introduction. So I'm Lori Falk, and I am a health and wellness coach and an epigenetic emotional healing artist. What is that? I actually have been gifted with an art form that contains emotional healing energy, and it literally is designed to move you at a heart level so that you absorb the wisdom in it into your emotional field, bypassing the cognitive mind. Now, when I first was divinely guided to do that, it made absolutely no sense to me, because I wasn't an artist. I had no artistic training. And what emotional healing art? I mean, none of it made sense. And then I met Dr. Bruce Lipton, and it all made sense. And that was the day I fell in love with epigenetics. And as a health and wellness coach, the majority of my work these days is focused on epigenetics, about really understanding the emotional DNA that gets passed down from generation to generation, and the importance that it plays in our lives. And I found out about Healy in April of last year, and I said yes in 5 minutes, because biohacking saved my life when I was in my late 20s, or not biohacking, actually I should say biofeedback changed my life when I was in my late 20s. And that's a story I can tell you on another day, but it literally changed my life then, and it's changed it again now. And now, as a coach, who's someone who's been coaching for 20 years, I look at this Healy coaching program through a very intense lens. As Ken and Mary know, I've asked a million questions that aren't necessarily on everyone's mind. So we're going to have you ask us the questions, because where my brain goes and where the average person's brain goes are two different things. But anyway, I'm thrilled that you're all here with us this evening, and we just want to make this inspirational and educational, and let us be your servants. Superman, you're on.
I love it. Oh my gosh, Mary, Lori, thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And I'm, Magic Monday sounds just amazing. And I think I want to attend every one. So here I am. Thank you guys for being here. And thank all you guys for joining in tonight. And as Lori said, we are working to serve you guys and to bring something to the table of value. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Ken Close. I have been with Healy for 22 months now. It's going to be my second year anniversary is coming right up, and I'm super excited about that. And my background is an electronics engineer, so my brain works as an engineer, and it's always evaluating and looking at the best way and the most efficient way to solve mysteries, to solve problems. And so as I started my journeys through the engineering way, I own a company that works within the fitness industry, and I've worked with thousands of people in the nuts and bolts of, literally, no pun intended, but the nuts and bolts of exercise and the physiology of the body. What I discovered quickly was that no matter how much someone worked out diligently and purposefully and very precisely, even if they had a personal coach, that they would go into their lives and sabotage all that amazing work by mindset. And I couldn't figure out, I'd see the same people in the clubs over and over again, working so diligent, so hard, and they would not change. There would not be a big change over their course of the year or the years that I would see them. So I started digging more into the mind, because I knew that there was something that was relevant here. I came across Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, the three amigos, Dr. Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and Dr. Joe Dispenza. Those guys really started to change the course of my life. And through that study, I dug deep into epigenetics, which basically looked more like understanding neuroscience, right? How does the brain work? And then finding out the connection, how it created a influence on the expression of the body. And so I molded or melded my engineering and the epigenetics into what I call an Epigeneer. So you are looking at an Epigeneer, folks, and I guarantee you, if I get deep into some of your conversations, I can show you where you are an Epigeneer as well. So I want to read something to kind of sum it up. And this is something from a man that we all know and love, Nikola Tesla, but perhaps not something you've heard before. So Nikola was a very conscious individual. What he was channeling through the three-dimensional space was coming from the information field. And let me read this to you. Nikola says, and I quote, "Everyone should consider his body as a priceless gift, one from which he loves above all, a miraculous work of art, of incredible beauty, of mystery beyond human conception, and so delicate that a word, a breath, a look, nay, a thought may injure it." So think about that. This is from Nikola Tesla over 100 years ago. A thought may injure it. So when we talk about epigenetics and we talk about the phenomenon of how the mind, body, spirit, and the melding of these come together, we're going to unpack that tonight, and how the biohacking concept comes into play as a role, or playing a role in how we develop as a cell by cell organism. So ladies, how do you want to dive in? Would you like me to dive in to some of the epigenetic ideas? Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys. So if we understand some basic concepts, and once we understand them, I'm going to say at the end of this, I'm going to say there's going to be a test. Not really, but we can't claim ignorance anymore when we know so definitively certain things and how they adjust our body. We can't say I didn't know. We are sitting here as 100 trillion cells in unison, operating as an orchestra, right? With a divine intelligence. I would challenge you to find 6 board members getting along in a meeting at one time, right? Where we have 100 trillion cells living together in one organism, building a body that is operating through amazing conditions. And to the tune of 800,000 cells per second, it's rejuvenating itself. Think about that, 800,000 cells per second. Write that down, because I want you to know that's happening right now, and right now, and right now, and right now, every second. The interesting part about that is there's a code, a genetic code. And Lori mentioned a little bit about it. There's imprints that come from ancestral influence, from environmental influence, and energetic influence. Okay. So these influences, the code itself has a very small amount, about 3%, that says that it's going to be a skin cell or a bone cell or a muscle cell. 3%. Well, what's the rest? Why do we need all this other genetic coding? Is it a waste? Is it useless? No, there is no junk DNA. The other 97% is an antenna reading the environment so that the cell is prepared to do its job and survive in its environment. So the other part of that adaptogenic portion of the code is saying that cell needs to be prepared for whatever environment it is. And the environment of the cell is the body, the inner side of the body. And the environment of the body is the surroundings and where we live. And so those have very distinct influences. And the interpreter of the outer environment and the inner environment is the mind. It's the mind, it's the consciousness that we are engaging in, the thoughts that we're having, the beliefs that we're engaging in, the habits and the systems that we have gotten on board. And this is all built from birth, actually before birth, right? There's coding that's being placed into our expression even before birth. And it's like I liken it to an inverse pyramid, right? So there's the expression of the concept of the life form. That's the beginning. And then there's building blocks upon building blocks upon building blocks that are built into this very moment, decades down the road, where we are who we are. And you can't remove any of those blocks because there's dependencies on those. You can't unexperience, or I like to say, you can't untaste the orange juice per se, right? So these experiences are important, but we can assign different meanings to them to change their influence on the genetic coding. Okay, so this way that our thoughts are this programming system that we've developed over the years. And we can change some of that things. And that's done through energy. We can rewire or re-energize the nervous system in 1 second, because the nervous system is the electrical system that operates the entire body, right? The vagus nerve is one of the most important nervous systems that speaks from the body to the brain, back and forth. 64% of the information is going from the body to the brain, right? It's an upload to help justify some of the thought patterns and the understandings in the brain. So the body is giving feedback to the brain. And there's a system called the reticular activating system, RAS, R-A-S for short. Okay, 400 billion bits of information per second. Write this down, 400 billion bits of information per second going through that reticular activating system, right? This is information back and forth between the cells of the body and the brain and the mind's interference or interaction with those genetic dispositions. Now, we're only aware of about 2,000 of those bits. Okay, so 400 billion, you can't see me raise my arms won't go wide enough. 400 billion we're aware of 2000. So do you think there's some stuff going on in the background we're not aware of? Absolutely. Those are the things that have been awareness pieces built since before birth. It's still influencing us. And the reticular activating system works on making true what we believe in, right? It kind of narrows the pathway so that we don't happen to see this particular opportunity or that particular good news when we're focused on bad or unworthiness. So in the epigenetic world, the 97% of the genetic code that is the antenna is how we influence our body, cell by cell. How many per second? 800,000, right? So cell by cell, second by second, with the thoughts, beliefs, and understandings that are going on in our mind, they will rewrite the codes of our body. But it takes a very distinct process. And that process comes from normally not what we know now, but what we don't know yet, right? We're willing and open to learn, but we don't know it yet. So we have mentors, we have friends, we have coworkers. Now, I'm not saying that all of those are great resources, but I'm just saying that we have these resources. And when we want to change some aspect of ourselves, we finally get sick and tired of being what? Sick and tired. And so we say, I'm going to make a change. Awesome. So then we go about our business of learning by reading, by going to events, by going to workshops, by hiring coaches, by whatever means necessary to start making changes. And the moment we swing that body just a few degrees out of norm, the body says, wait a minute, hold on. You're not being normal. You're changing things, and I'm not okay with that. Remember the reticular activating system? Remember the vagal tone, the nerves that are coming, feeding the brain? The body's speaking up because it's got a history of how it's supposed to feel at 8:30 in the morning when you're driving through traffic, being frustrated, angry, and anxious. The body knows how to feel that, but you've decided not to do that anymore, right? You made a deal with yourself yesterday, said, I'm not going to do that anymore. But the triggers in that traffic are so overwhelming, and the body is so ingrained in the past that it can't help itself. And you say, you know what? I'll start tomorrow. I'm going to be mad right now. And you start hitting the horn and doing the sign language, and you do the things, right? And the body goes right back into the old patterns. So we need some help. What's that help? Remember I said the 97% of the genetic code that's an antenna? Guess what? We can hack that. And this is where our beautiful little Healy comes in, because it can send very distinct, very concise, very strong influences into that coding system to adjust and shift the outcome. And this starts to work not just on body, but it also works on mind. And then the coaching protocol, as we move the coaching protocol in, now it's getting more precise. Now we can hone in on just relationships. What kind of relationships? Relationships on a romantic level, relationships on a business level, relationships with our families. We can hone in on some of these things, and we can give very precise, very exact, very distinct signatures called frequencies, and influence that genetic code to the tune of how many cells per second? 800,000 cells per second. And we can start rewriting the codes at the cellular level. And then suddenly one day you just go, wow, I just don't do that anymore. You're in the midst of the worst traffic jam ever, and you're calm, you're cool, you're collected, you're smiling, and you're enjoying the present moment. So this is kind of what we're going to unpack tonight, you guys. And I hope that kind of paints a little bit of a clear picture of how the systems kind of go together. Ladies, join me back in. You want to add anything? Do we have any questions in the chat?
No, I think people are just, they're hanging on their seats because I am.
Absolutely. I think, in layman's terms, just to bring it down to for the simpler people like me, 90 to 98% of the time, we are reacting based upon subconscious programs. 90 to 98% of the time. And we think that it's the monkey mind, the conscious mind that is running the show. It's not. And that is what is so unbelievably exciting about this Healy coaching program, is that we can literally go in and fine tune this. It's such an incredibly deep, deep level. I knew when I started using Healy that it would become a big part of my coaching practice. And when creative homeopathy showed up, was that in May? Gosh, the months all run together. I started using that with my clients every time I had a session. And I thought that was amazing and incredible, because you could get to these deep, deep, deep levels that, I'll tell you what, as a coach, I am so excited about this, because I know I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. I know how long it takes to shift those beliefs. I know how long it takes for someone to be comfortable enough with their coach, to be vulnerable enough to say, yes, that is an issue. I know how long it takes sometimes to convince them that their conscious mind is not the truth, that it is these subconscious programs that are creating the reality that they don't want. Wow. So we had creative homeopathy, and it shifted my whole coaching practice. Do you know when that came on the scene? I made a commitment to myself. I won't coach anyone who doesn't have a Healy. That's a big statement. But I'll tell you what, it's not that I'm looking to make an extra commission. I am looking to save my clients time and money in the long run. And I know how much quicker they're going to shift when we can get right in there and get to the nuts and bolts of what's going on, rather than taking 6 months, rather than taking a year, or whatever it is, depending on how deep the issue is. So this coaching module is going to be just adding a whole new dimension to my coaching practice, to all of our lives. And guys, it's opening an entire new market for you. Because if you go through the academy and you really study the coaching modules, and it doesn't take that long. I did it in a Saturday night and I already have my certificate. So yes, I have an exciting life, you can tell, right? But I love what I'm doing. I love this world that we're all in together. But when you're in there, they have 2 recommendations. And if it's a conscious thought or a program, they're recommending that you run it 6 to 8 times for 30 seconds, 37 seconds every day until it's gone. If it is a subconscious issue, they're recommending 2 to 3 times a day for 2.49 minutes for a month. So you could work with your Healy on a client, but if they don't have the Healy, they aren't really going to be able to do the work and make the shifts as effectively as they could. So when you start to present this to holistic docs and naturopaths and life coaches and wellness coaches and health coaches, you are creating new builders, new team managers. Because these people are going to be selling so many devices, it's going to make your head spin. So I am so excited about this that Mary and Ken can tell you I can hardly contain myself. So
I love that energy.
Here's a question from the chat, and I think the answer is yes. But our relationship with food and how the coaching modules could be incredibly impactful. And I happen to think yes.
Yeah, I'm working with a client, then we're working specifically on that as one of her issues. And before the coaching module, because obviously I just got it a few days ago, I had her imagine what it would feel like to be her trim, slim, ideal weight, to feel the way she really wants to feel, and to look the way she really wants to look, and to get into that state of mind. And then I had her run creative homeopathy. And we found the top 5 blocks. So Ken, which program would we use in the coaching module?
You know, so if we're looking at, does this system work with the relationship to food? It works with relationship, period. So if we're looking at relationship in general, there is a relationship that the body has to the mind and the mind to the body. So when we are building cell by cell structures and we have habitual behaviors, whether it be something to do with eating, then the body begins to, the cells that is being build receptor sites that are going to adequately adapt to its environment. And if not, a lot of times that has to do with the amount of food and the types of food we crave. There's the system, the body itself builds a habitual behavior. So when you're running you're using this coaching module for relationships, then, you know, I think that as we gain more experience, we're all going to start to use, our own intuition. I don't believe that there's one answer. I mean, this is why Healy has hundreds and hundreds of frequencies available per program, because there's not one answer for each, for everybody. So when we're building or looking for relationships to food, we're trying to see how we interact with this coaching module. Then I say that you would try different databases, create different lists. Now, like Lori said, if this is something that goes way back, it's subconscious, right? You're going to work on this for a while, because things that are seated deep inside of us. What did I say? 800,000 cells per second. So how many seconds does it take to adjust 100 trillion cells? Do the math. It's going to take a while. So every moment that your mind, body, and Healy or frequency influence is misaligned, you're building cells misaligned. Every time that you are aligned, you're building alignment. So I am a nuts and bolts kind of person. When it comes to the actual tangible changes of the body, there's going to be, because the information field has a very clear picture of your divine self. The blueprint there is pure. It's not until that blueprint starts to lower in vibration to where it finally becomes solid in this three-dimensional space where the flaws might show up, because now mind is influencing that shift from the blueprint to matter. Okay. The blueprint's pure, but the mind interprets and creates a shift in the actual material self. So waveform in the information field, particle here in the three-dimensional space. And particles, or I should say three-dimensional space, is hostage to time, right? Because we've slowed down to a three-dimension means that we have space and time, right? So it's dependent upon time. And like I was saying before, we can upregulate the nervous system in one instant. That's the nervous system. The nervous system then goes out and speaks to all of the cells, 400 billion bits of information per second. Okay. Going out and speaking to everything. There's a map in your brain for every spot in your body. And so the brain has also captured every experience you've ever gone through, whether you're aware of it or not. It's still there. It's still part of the building blocks. Remember I said the upside down pyramid is still part of those blocks that built that structure. So it's going to take time. And when those are subconscious, a lot of times some of the eating behavior patterns have been built over time as a coping mechanism. And so that is asking us to face what we built it for. Why did we build it? It was a coping mechanism, right? And if we get rid of that coping mechanism, what's going to happen to the body, to the three-dimensional self? And so Healy and this coaching module starts to bridge a lot of that information so that you are prepared ahead of the experience. We've got to start to build, like Lori says, imagine yourself in a particular condition. Now, and I know you do this, take it a next step further. What could you do in that imagined condition? What is your life like? What do you wear? Who are your friends? How do you speak? How do you carry yourself? What changed about your posture? Do you go more places now because you feel more confident? Being in that life ahead of the experience, this starts to give validity to the body to actually make the change. One thing we need to understand is the body is actually precognitive. What does that mean? It means the body is reading your intention because it needs to be prepared. Remember I said 800,000 cells per second. It needs to be prepared for the next move. And how do you know this is true? We'll do this little experiment. Sit in your chair and I want you to stand up, but I want you to take several intentions to stand up. Sorry about my cuckoo clock there, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to intend to stand up, but don't do it. And then intend to stand up, but don't do it. But then actually stand up. Just in one of those thoughts, just actually stand up and see if you get dizzy. If you stand up and you don't get lightheaded, you don't get dizzy, that means that the body has anticipated the action, shot a little bit of adrenaline to increase the blood flow to the brain so that you don't have a low oxygen content when you stand up. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Have you ever stood up and felt dizzy? Probably during a time in which you were either low on food, low on hydration, low on energy, maybe a little bit sick or something going on within the body. The resources are being consumed somewhere else to help the healing part of the body. And then that precognitive skill has been dimmed down a bit. But this is how you can tell the body's precognitive. It's preparing you to stand up and not pass out. So when we start making changes, there's a certain amount of energy that needs to go into the system to start aligning it. And this is where Healy comes in. This coaching module is doing a scan, just like in the resonance module. The resonance module has a very distinct client, right? And there's certain information about the client. There is their name, their picture, place of birth, all that kind of stuff. And that's called the attention. The attention is the client. So when you do a scan, the system puts all of its attention on the client, does a scan, comes up with a solution, right? Comes up with what would realign that. In the coaching module, the attention is the relationship. We've been talking about relationships, right? That's the attention. And so it's going to put its attention on a relationship. And then you're going to decide what kind of relationship, to what degree, to what database am I going to harness this attention to be within to give me results and answers. So it's real similar to the way that the resonance module works. It's just that it's now using the information field for just a little different purpose. And the Healy, you guys might have heard of the quantum sensor that's in the Healy. Okay. The quantum sensor is more affectionately known from electronics perspective as the noise generator. Okay, the noise generator is a system, a device in there that has a little, let's call it a bridge where electron flow is kind of interacting with the environment. This is the cool part. Electrons are very, very tiny. Everybody knows about a molecule, and you've got the center of the molecule, the nucleus, and you got the electrons around the outer flow. That's an atom, right? You've got this cool looking, and what happens when you split the atom? The atomic bomb, right? It's a bad thing when you take that energy and you disrupt it in such a way. So this is a very important flow. And so the electrons can move from atom to atom to atom, and this is called electron flow. And this is by an influence, a potential influence. So when those electrons are moving, it's such a small space. That's the quantum field. And all of our energy, our thoughts, our beliefs, our energy is right there pressed against that electron field. And that electron field is pressed right against us. And so when Healy runs that flow through the noise generator, now the electrons are reading the environment, you or the client. And that information that you're putting off is then influencing that flow within the Healy. And it's reading that information. And that information is transferring back and forth at the electron, at the atomic level. This is the quantum field. This is how that interaction is working with you. Okay. So with all that understanding, think about how small of an influence it takes to pass to be influential over this circuit. It's super sensitive, far beyond what we can imagine, because we're thinking of the very big. You know, we look at your hand, billions upon billions. I can't even tell you to the umpteenth level of electrons right there, right? So then that influence from you as an energetic expression, an energy field, a being in space and time, is being read by the Healy circuitry. And then through an AI system is running an algorithm to find out exactly what will align the energy that's within you. And this is how this coaching module and the resonance module, they operate in that synergy, in that level. So anyway, when it comes to the precise decision-making process, as to, when you choose a database, these are going to be some of the skills of the coach. As we start to learn what's available to us, we're going to learn more and more about which database is going to align with which particular conditions. Just like when we are talking about a skin condition and we are looking at maybe the skin page on our microcurrent programs, and yet the skin condition actually has something to do with perhaps the first energy center, the first chakra, because of a survival mechanism being engaged and constantly putting our system into chaos and disorder. So anyway, we're going to know more about that as we get more experience and more training. More training is coming, by the way, mid-month, soon, like next week. More training, more in-depth understanding about the coaching module. It's been launched so that we can play with it. You're not going to break it. So we can play with it and we can start gaining our understanding right now. So do you want to add to that, Lori, as far as the quantum field, anything that within the coaching module?
What I'd like to add, Ken, is that I encourage everybody to get into the academy and to really go through each of those modules. And like Ken said, there's more information coming, but the way it's put together, it gives you some examples and they're explaining the components of how it all works and interacts in this example. And it's what all I can say is take notes. Take copious notes, because when you actually go from the academy, even though you got your certificate and you start using the coaching module, you're going to go, now, what was that? And what is the relevance? And what is the potency? And what is the number in the middle? And which ones should I look at? And which ones are most important? There's so many finite details in there that you got to take notes. I'm sure that's coming, but we don't have it yet. So if you're going to start playing with it and you want to really understand what you're doing, I think it's super important to, take notes and follow it step by step, so that when you're doing the interpretation, even if it's on yourself, you're getting an accurate picture of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I have a couple questions, Ken and Lori, that just came up in the chat, and someone saying, please talk more about the certificate. I can speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
Just get in there and learn. I don't think it's any different than getting the Healy and running programs. We can't hurt ourselves. All we can do is learn. And I'm speaking as a layperson who's getting pretty darn knowledgeable. And I would highly recommend that if you get the coaching module. But go into the back office. There we go. There. Yes.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So that's all, by the way, that's in your academy. It's in the
Yes.
academy. And you can go in the academy and look at the coaching module and you'll be able to run through this. You're going to watch videos, answer some questions, and boom, then you'll get your certificate. Okay. I invite all of you to do it, right? We have over 70 people here. I invite you all to do it. Why? Because remember what I said before, the experience, you can't untaste the orange juice. Once you gain the experience by just doing those videos, instead of, just asking someone else, you gain a higher level of understanding. It takes a few components within the brain to build those synaptic connections. You see, you hear, you digest, you write, you take notes, you take a test. All of that synergy with around that information builds a memory. It rehearses a protocol that creates a memory, more synaptic connections, more knowledge. Okay, very important. So that's within the academy. Let's run through what this coaching module is really quick. Okay, so there's actually two parts to it, right? There's the personal coaching module, okay, and it includes relationships around family, partnerships, self-worth, emotional balance, social relationships, and spirituality. These are the things that are personal. They're for you. They're not for you to coach someone else. They're to coach you. Okay. And then, so that's the personal coaching module. It's going to be available by subscription. But up until December 31st, you can purchase that as a one-time lifetime purchase, and you can own it for yourself forever. The other component to this is the success coach module. It includes the personal coach module, and it adds the things around goals. Now, these are the parts of where you can work with someone else. So goals, potentials, career, and finances. These are things in which now that goes into success. You can use it from yourself, of course, as well, but also these are going to work with working with other folks. And the main purpose of this module, let's just go to 10,000 feet and look at the landscape of why. It's because what I said earlier, we decide to make a change within ourselves, right? And we go about the next day or the next moment building those changes. And the body still has the history, the past built into it. All of the things, the triggers or I should say, the responses to the triggers are still built into the body. And so it's going to be really easy for the body to go back into the old behaviors. It's going to take a lot of mental capacity, a lot of commitment, a lot of diligence, and a lot of support to keep us on track. So where Healy comes in is to build a day by day, moment by moment, energetic expression into your field. So like I mentioned earlier, though, you can eat the most organic, non-GMO, fresh meal on the planet. And you can have a angry disposition and you can keep your body in a stress response where the digestive system is ineffective or lower effectiveness. And that organic meal will still not give you the benefit, and the body will still decay and still lower its vibration. So these are important points to make sure you understand that Healy works on all levels. Its number one focus is to find resonance with you and the task. Okay, so if we're looking at family relationships, what's the task? Alignment of family relationships. So Healy's building a bridge between the family relationships and your current state, your present state of being, which is, if it's out of whack, it's out of whack, right? And so it starts building a bridge. It gives suggestions on how to build that bridge. And then you send that information into your field. Okay. But if your mind isn't willing to accept, believe, and surrender, then all of that amazing information in your blueprint is going to vaporize into midair before it gets down here to density and becomes matter. Okay. All right. Mary, anything else you want to, the directions?
Yes, I have, there are a bunch of questions that are related to the certification. Someone asked, do you have to have the module before you go in and take the course in the academy? Absolutely not. I think you'll want to get the module even more after the real life examples that are shown in the course that's in the academy. So that was one of the questions. There was also someone that had used the coaching module and had a different experience than they did with the quantum field and also the microcurrent. And can you speak to that? And I'll keep looking for more questions here.
Lori, you want to take that?
I'm not sure what the difference was, but a
Right.
very important point that I brought up earlier today that I wanted to have addressed this evening is this. When you're running these coaching modules on yourself, and when you're running creative homeopathy, you're getting to deep issues. You're getting to core issues that often you don't even know exist. And my concern, because I've seen this over the years, is where practitioners will go in, they'll dig this stuff up and then leave the people hanging.
We don't want that.
No, we don't want that. So as a coach, I'm there for my clients, right? So I wasn't personally worried about it, but my concern was that we go out and we get all these customers and they start using it and they don't have a support system, then what? So personally, I'm going to sell it to as many coaches as I can to avoid that. But Ken, I'd love for you to share with everyone what you shared with us earlier today, that it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be.
I love this. Yeah. So
Perfect.
yeah, we did talk a little bit about what, how are these programs created within Healy, right? What's the engineering criteria when you're creating a program? Well, Healy has, as you know, and may have heard, that the first phase of the interaction with the client or the person, the first phase is the analysis. It's the analysis. It's like, okay, it's going to find the resonance of your body. Like I said, the electron flow through the noise generator is now interfacing with your energy field. And it's hard to imagine what can happen all at once, because within a microsecond, all of the information about you is known. When I say all the information, I'm talking about every molecular structure in your body, misaligned or aligned, good or bad, awesome or not so awesome, is known in a microsecond. That's the information field. And then that interaction goes into, let's call it a little if then else, or a logic statement. Okay. It goes into a logic statement. And then the circuitry or the programming starts to pick that apart. And it looks at all the various contents of the database to find out what best serves you. Okay. That's the evaluation process. Okay. The second phase is the implementation and then scoring process, essentially. So it implements that into your body and starts getting feedback as to your alignment process, right? And then the last phase is kind of the cleanup crew, going in and kind of helping balance all this discomfort that's going to come up from that dark night of the soul. Remember, when you're giving up some aspect of yourself, you built decades on this aspect, and you just discovered it doesn't serve you, but you didn't know that until now, right? You didn't know that it was causing this disorder or this problem or this disease. You didn't know that until now. But now that you do know it, it's a little too late to reverse it because it's already built. But now what you have to do is you have to build a new understanding to outweigh it. Okay, so you have to build new information. And now Healy, that cleanup crew at the end, comes in and helps balance you on a spiritual and psychological level. So it's kind of like the detox part, because all of the frequencies are going into your body that are changing your vibration. You're now resonating at a new frequency, and the things that were a lower vibration that were not serving you are now toxins being evacuated from your system. What system? Cell by cell. Remember, every cell was built with a particular belief structure, just like your mind, just like your brain. And so that gets cleansed. And when you cleanse that, that toxic burden goes back into your body. And it's critical that you maintain a high hydration, making sure your body's hydrated, because the body can only expel that through the secretion systems of your body. And the kidneys and the bladder is the best way that gets rid of it. Drink water, flush it out, and then the body can do its job. The body naturally cleanses itself and rejuvenates itself But the reason it doesn't do it optimally is because we, as a consciousness, as a person who thinks we know best, is not drinking enough water, is stressing about the traffic we're in, is not sleeping properly, is forgetting breakfast, is doing all of the things that are not serving us well. And the body is just doing its best. It's just doing its best. And yet all the systems are only running at, say, 50%, right? So the last phase is cleansing the body. So I love what Lori does. I love the fact of her support and her heart. But please know that if you don't have a Lori, you don't have a Mary, you don't have somebody in your life, then this coaching module can still serve you properly, right? Please create community. Please seek out conversation. We are a relationship-oriented species. And that's, you're not going to get out of this life alone. I mean, I'm just saying, you won't. You're going to interact with humans, right? I mean, think about that. Is there anybody on the planet that does not ever interacted with a human? I don't think so. So we are, this system has the proper pieces built in. And so don't be afraid to use it. I see Carla put the pricing in there for the modules. And the US price list is coming out. I'm thinking by mid next week, we'll have it. And so we'll be able to share that because it's not in the back office yet, by the way. Okay. 8 minutes left on the hour. I want to be respectful. I mean, I could sit and have a conversation with you guys all day. What else do we got?
We would love that, Ken, because I can feel the energy. We all want to learn. And I think the most amazing thing that we can do for each other and the people that we love, and for every single person on this planet that Marcus wants to help and transform, is for all of us, whatever information you would like. I mean, let's get on this journey together. We're going to do one in a month. We're going to have the Monday Magic with Ken, and let's see where this thing evolves. But I don't know about you, but I am just like, this is the next layer of obsession with the Healy. And I think it's pretty exciting. Most of us don't know the answers to these, and we're all going to, let's learn together and let's get more people on this so we can help each other. And then I want to learn how it can help animals. Okay.
Well, hopefully this was useful, and then, you guys can share it. Of course, it can grow, and share it with the people you feel would find value in this content. There's a lot that can be covered. I mean, the quantum field is vast. It's limitless. It's infinite. And the information there includes the beautiful, pure blueprint of every one of you. Just know that it's there, no matter what you're seeing in the mirror here or feeling in your body in the present moment. There is a clear picture of that divine self. And we just have to figure out how to get out of the way and allow it to start to manifest and blossom. And that's usually the cause, is that we tend to be in the way with our old belief structures.
Absolutely. So be gentle with yourselves, be gentle with your clients, be gentle with anyone, because the stuff that's going to be cleared isn't conscious. It could be things that they got from their ancestors that are passed on generationally, that they don't even know exist, that they don't even know that this is what's creating their current reality. So just be loving, be kind, be gentle, run coherence when you're working with them. And, I just love teaching. And so I literally have just put together a 6-week group coaching program. So if anyone is interested in learning how to use this week by week in a coaching practice, I'm going to start it on the 20th. And I'd be delighted to have any of you join. I'll post the information in the chat. And come on, join us and learn.
That's fabulous. I love that. I love what Mary said. We're in this together, and to learn together is the best way. And the information field like I said, is a vast, infinite opportunity. And if we get on board with a lower vibration of unworthiness or jealousy or anger or possessiveness, whatever it is, there is enough energy to support you, right? And you're feeding that bad wolf, and it's becoming a part of you. Only your body, 800,000 cells per second, is being acclimated in that present moment. Nobody else. No matter how justified you are in being angry, upset, or venting to the outside world, it's your body that's being built in that moment. So keep a clear understanding of what you're doing every moment, and be diligent. You'll change moment by moment. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me here. Big love to everybody.
Thank you, Ken. So someone asked me where we're going to post these, and I know that Doc Steve is on here also. Hi, Doc Steve. I would love it if, once we have the recording, that we could maybe put it on Team Healy USA. And if you're not on Telegram, people, you need to be on Telegram. It's a great location for information. It's information out. Go in, look at it once, twice a day. Again, depending on where you're at, you may not even be building this business, but we have a moral responsibility to heal this planet, don't we?
Absolutely.
The mastermind group is the only ones that can post in that in there. So it's not
Right.
It's not a gossip column. It's not a two-way street. It's a
Right.
one-way out. And so myself, Terry, Doc Steve, Adriana, we post things that are pertinent in that group. So absolutely, you're not going to get bombarded with a whole bunch of notifications if you're in that group. But that is going to be the place in which you're going to gain understanding. Wherever you found this link to this invite to this will also have the recording. So we'll post it wherever we posted the invite as well. All right.
Absolutely. As soon as I get the link, I'll send it to Ken and Mary, and we'll share it with everybody.
Right on. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on here.
We're going to do it again.
We'll do it again.
Right?
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank
Whenever
you.
whenever a month from now is. Yes.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thank you,
Enjoy your
Ken.
night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
guys.
That was amazing.
Mahalo.
Thank you, thank you.
I love your puppy. I love your puppy. I love it.
This wasn't.
We're a big happy family.
Lori, Mary, thank you so much. It
Adorable.
was amazing. And thanks, Ken.
This was an
And-
awesome launch.
Bye, Michaela.
Thank you.
Thank you.